Hey everybody, why I feel low? I feel low in my seat. Okay, I was a little low. I felt really low just then. Hold on. See. All right. What is good, everybody? It's Tuesday. Whoa, you boy been watching regular show. Not even gonna hold you. That was regular show at its best. We are here. We are live. It's Tuesday. Yes. It's Tuesday. Yes. We are not charging the computer right now. Let me plug the computer up. All right. So we don't end up having the computer go dead on this. Perfect. Y'all can hear me. So hopefully y'all had a good weekend. Y'all was safe. Enjoyed yourselves. We got a few topics to talk about. We got Linda, North Carolina A&T, and what's the next one? Linda, North Carolina A&T, and UK graduates. So shout out to everybody who has been sharing that Obama video. That video is doing extremely well. Extremely well. Extremely well. It's doing really well. And so let's keep pushing that out because that video is driving us. We gained some subscribers. Thank you to the subscribers. Hopefully we can save you some money. You might catch me on the live screen with my lips chapped a little bit. I'm drinking an energy drink from Dutch Bros. Free advertisement. I don't know. I need some water. Look, I need water because it makes me dehydrated a little bit. Yeah, you know, it's a good time to be talking about higher education. You know, let me close that. Wait, don't close that yet. Yeah, we're gonna start with Department of Education first before we do it. Okay. And I actually got a video. I don't know how much of the video we should play. We'll probably play like 10 minutes of it because you know, guys, in the future we could live stream this stuff, which would be dope. But we missed this live stream, unfortunately. This was during the day because we were working. You know, this is not full time. This is definitely a part-time job. And Linda went live. This was her being, why am I going to this? I can show y'all this first. But let's do a disclaimer first, and then we'll get into it. All right, remember, disclaimer, the videos presented here for informational purposes only. And therefore, if you are considering to choose an institution that we cover, you should definitely follow up with a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or somebody representing the institution. Because by the time you watch this, it could be a year later, 2 years later, it could be a month later, and changes are happening all the time in higher education. And I want you to make the best decision for yourself or your family. And I just want you to say over $10,000 or more, like we always talk about, from starting at a 2-year and bridge it to a 4-year. When you get to your 4-year, you stay off campus. Don't get a meal plan. And we just want to stress these great tools and methodology, you know, speaking on behalf that we learn. So just remember, Henry is only speaking from his experience, speaking on behalf of Creator. And let's enjoy, man. Let's just enjoy. Let's enjoy this nice Tuesday. It's a good Tuesday. Chin hair coming back in. Got to shave that, man. Not looking in like I'm in reds right now with the military. I'm just going through it for y'all, man. Let me see. I made sure the sound was on this time. Not y'all see my stuff over here? I'll be watching Watch the Trap, man. I'll be watching them. Actually, this is not even what I'm supposed to be. It's not the video. That's what I use for the thumbnail. I was thinking, I don't know who to use. They got The Hill, they got Forbes. A lot of people played it. I guess I'll just use Forbes. They got like a 6-minute video, but I want the whole live screen personally, so we can watch like the first 10 minutes of it and see what's going on. And then hold on. Let's go to the beginning. All right, so we're gonna let this play a little bit. Oops. Working on my live stream skills. Sound on. So before they start real quick, I'm not going all the way from the beginning, as you can see, but this is about the fiscal 2027 budget we talked about, what they was going to be trimming in that budget that we covered. It was like department, you got like department awards, like where the United States government, White House, what they're allocating their money toward, what they're cutting, all that good stuff. So she has to sit committee hearing. She has to sit before the committee, and she testifies before the Senate Appropriations Committee, where they pretty much grill her. They're going to grill Linda. And is it playing? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, good morning, everyone, and good morning to you, Secretary McMahon. Thank you for being here today to discuss the President's budget for 2027, the request, and your priorities for the Department of Education.
Now, we're going to stop this at 27 minutes. It's a little really introduction, but this is like the whole live stream, but we're not going to play a whole 2 hours of me just playing that. So, yeah.
I'm pleased to be joined this morning, as always, by my friend and ranking member, Senator Baldwin. It is our 4th year atop the subcommittee together, and I think later on we will be joined by our full committee chairs, Senator Collins and the Vice Chair, Senator Murray. I know we're all eager to build upon the successful bipartisan work that we completed this last fiscal year and would love to see it continue through the year. Secretary McMahon, you're entering your 2nd year at the helm of the Department of Education. Much like the last time we were all gathered in this room, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Do we stay the course with our education system as it is, hoping that more money and federal intervention will solve our problems? Or do we, as you have suggested, ask the difficult questions and consider innovative solutions that can actually turn the tide? Madam Secretary, I think we both believe that all Americans, from our earliest learners to our post-secondary students, should have the opportunity to access a high-quality education, and it is our responsibility to make that possible. But our nation's students are struggling. We know from last year's National Assessment of Educational Progress that students are still scoring below pre-pandemic levels on all tested grades and subjects. 35%, a full 1/3 of our nation's 8th graders, are not reading at the NAEP basic level. This is a greater percentage than ever before. We must remain focused on improving outcomes for students. That means ensuring students can read at grade level, are prepared for colleges and career, and have opportunities to succeed in a rapidly changing environment. It's a time for the United States to stand on the global stage as a leader in education and reverse the troubling trends that we have seen for far too long. So where do we begin? Your leadership has shown that perhaps we need to start by turning to those who know our students best, our local schools, our local teachers, and their parents of the students. Federal education spending should be tailored to support states and policies that are responsive to the needs of each student. I'm pleased to see that your budget supports formula grant programs like Title I and IDEA that bring crucial investments to each of our states. These programs provide the much needed flexibility for our local communities to meet individual needs for their students. Similarly, I'm pleased to see your budget maintains your support for charter schools program. West Virginia is fairly new to offering charter schools, yet we are already seeing exciting results in the expanded school choice opportunities for our public school students. I know that the department's continuing investment in the charter school program will benefit many more students across the nation, much like we have seen in my state. I would also like to touch on post-secondary education. I'll note that before I began my professional career as a college counselor and advisor. And in this role, I saw firsthand how education provides students with life-changing opportunities. So I was glad to see that your budget requests funding to address the Pell shortage and to maintain the Pell Grant Maximum Award. Pell is critical to help provide financial access to post-secondary education for our students in West Virginia and across the nation who need it the most. I'm also encouraged by the steps the department has taken to return student loan borrowers to repayment and remind them of the responsibility that they take on when taking out a loan. However, after years of borrowers not being required to pay their loans by the prior administration, there is more work that needs to be done. Currently, more than 1 out of 4 student loan borrowers are delinquent or in default. I look forward to the work your department will do to clearly and efficiently correct the unprecedented confusion that our student loan borrowers have faced for years, and importantly, put borrowers back on a thoughtful track to repayment. As we move through the fiscal year 2027 appropriations process, I look forward to continued partnership with your department to find a responsible balance between our limited taxpayer resources and supporting the best opportunities for a high-quality education. I anticipate the road ahead will be challenging, as it always has been, but we must forge ahead together to deliver our students who are the future of our great nation. Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to your testimony. And I'll now turn to my ranking member, Senator Baldwin, for opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Capito. Secretary McMahon, thank you as well for being here today. Look, it's been deeply disheartening to see the focus of this administration when it comes to education issues facing our students and our families. Experts have been clear that the steady improvement in student achievement stopped roughly a decade ago, and it has been in decline since. This has been hardest on precisely the students federal law is intended to help. Secretary McMahon, instead of working collaboratively towards solutions to help our students and families, you've undertaken a politically motivated campaign to undermine the work of the Department of Education. This has been to the detriment of our students, and if allowed to continue, will have consequences long into the future. This includes the termination of $2 billion in grants in the middle of last school year, including grants to expand school-based mental health and special education staff in the state of Wisconsin, my home state. It includes illegally withholding more than $7 billion in formula grant funds, which states were forced to sue in order to access. It includes the abrupt end of $800 million in investments in education, research, and data that support the work of our states and schools. It includes the elimination of funding to address teacher shortages, international education, and eliminating funding for minority-serving institutions. It also includes the continued focus on illegally dismantling the entire Department of Education. None of this is about returning education to the states. The things you claim to have returned through waivers and flexibility, federal law already allowed. At the same time, you are asserting an unprecedented level of control over state and local education decisions. You are using the full power of the federal government to require states, school districts, and institutions of higher education to bend to the will of the Trump administration or face a loss of federal funding. What the department is doing is transferring the vast majority of its.
So after she's done speaking, then Linda gets a chance to speak. That's where we'll cut it because, guys, this can be, I'm already forgetting that we, again, it can keep rolling. I'm going to let it play though.
Programs to other federal departments, agencies with little experience or expertise or capacity to administer them. This includes moving programs that support elementary schools to the Department of Labor. This isn't reducing bureaucracy, it's creating more of it, another layer of it. Where states previously primarily dealt with the Department of Education, they will now have to deal with multiple federal agencies. The department claimed without evidence success in transferring career and technical education and adult education programs to the Department of Labor. That transfer has not gone smoothly, and it has, in fact, cost taxpayers even more. The programs your department next plans to move are orders of magnitude larger and more complex, including programs like Title I, Impact Aid, and TRIO. You are moving those programs at an unknown cost to the Department of Labor onto a grant system administered by yet another agency, the Department of Health and Human Services, a grant system that has experienced significant technical difficulties and issues last year that created delays for programs like Head Start and community health centers. A system the Department of Health and Human Services has described itself as antiquated. This is a waste of taxpayer resources that creates additional complexity and significant risks for our states and schools, particularly rural schools. It also fundamentally misses the point about the role of the Department of Education, which is in large part about supporting states and schools and ensuring all students have access to a high-quality public education. The recent decline in student test scores is very concerning, but it follows steady progress over decades and does not provide evidence that we should eliminate the Department of Education. To the contrary, the Department of Education has helped some states buck those recent trends. It has helped states and school districts adopt evidence-based approaches through funding, research, and technical assistance to improve student outcomes. Instead of building on this work, the department is taking away important support while making everything more complicated. And that is not what our states, schools, families, and students need. Now we have before us a budget that proposes massive cuts to public education. This budget would raise the cost for families. State and local taxpayers would have to make up for the $6 billion cut to programs supporting 50 million K-12 students served in our nation's public schools. And I will not support a proposal to cut funding to Wisconsin for public elementary and secondary education. Your budget request would also make higher education more expensive and harder to access for working families. While increased funding for the Pell Grant program is important, that just maintains current benefits. At the same time, the budget eliminates nearly every other program to help students pursue and afford higher education. Chair Capito, I appreciate the work we were able to do together on last year's budget with the support of Chair Collins and Vice Chair Murray. I'm committed to working with any member who is serious about developing a fiscal year 2027 appropriations bill that supports our schools and funds the Department of Education so it can do what the law requires for our students and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. And now we'll turn to our witness. Our witness today is Linda McMahon, who is the Secretary of the Department of Education. Welcome, Madam Secretary, and we look forward to your opening statement.
Thank
Linda.
you. Good morning, Chair Capito, Ranking Member Baldwin, distinguished members of this subcommittee. Thank you so much for having me today. Americans reelected President Trump with a clear mandate to sunset a 46-year-old $3 trillion failed educational bureaucracy in D.C. and return authority to where it belongs, to parents, teachers, and local leaders. Amid record low test scores and record high numbers of students buried in debt, Americans want results. Today, I can confidently attest that we are delivering on the vision of educational renewal. For decades, many promised, but none have delivered. In the past year, I've traveled to over 30 states, Seeing firsthand the successes and challenges our education systems face has reinforced my conviction that empowering local leaders and targeting federal dollars toward evidence-based programs are the force multipliers driving our educational renaissance. To that end, my department has carefully scrutinized every dollar of taxpayer investment to ensure that it supports clear pathways to success for our students and families. We've cut unproductive program funding and redirected those resources to revitalize literacy, invigorate workforce development, and support our most vulnerable students. We've conducted an honest assessment of our operational efficacy, shrunk our bloated bureaucracy, and to date have secured 10 partnerships with federal agencies well equipped to co-administer Department of Education programs. We've stopped burdening local leaders with one-size-fits-all mandates and are now empowering them to design solutions that best support their students. For example, we awarded Iowa the first ever returning education to the state's waiver, which frees millions of dollars in compliance costs. This allows Iowa to devote more resources to proven interventions, like those that led to their double-digit reading gains. And we continue to work closely with other states to help them realize their potential for innovation. We're also expanding affordable, high-quality education options and restoring parents to their rightful role as the primary decision makers in their child's education. Thanks to President Trump and Republicans in Congress, the Education Freedom Tax Credit gives parents access to critical resources like scholarships, tutoring, and specialized services for students with disabilities, whether their child attends public or private school. In K-12 and higher education alike, the Trump administration is restoring safety, fairness, and equal opportunity for our students. In this administration, we have secured 7 historic deals with universities to right the wrongs of their pervasive civil rights violations. We've returned integrity to the broken federal student aid system for the 43 million Americans holding an astounding $1.7 trillion in federal student loan debt. Our simplified free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA form, launched on the earliest timeline in program history, leading to a record 11 million submissions to date. We introduced a new earnings indicator, so students no longer take on significant debt without clear, reliable information. And thanks to our strengthened security measures, we have prevented over $1 billion in federal student aid fraud so far. We're also hard at work implementing the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, which simplifies federal student loan repayment, launches a new workforce Pell program, and will make post-secondary education more affordable. And today we're putting forward a request that accelerates these reforms. This year's budget request maintains full funding for the Title I-A grants to local education agencies, programs.
Okay. She was just, and it's been 30 minutes. So we went over the 27 mark. We were supposed to be in there for 27. We was in there till 33. So about not that long, 23 minutes on the live screen. So you talk about 3, we was on there for about 20 something minutes because the live screen, we started like at 25 minutes in, 4 minutes in, playing that. So I got some things down while they were talking. And I'm going to pull up the next page while they, they're going to duke that out because we can't play because what's the point of watching this if you could just go watch that on the actual platform, like got to add some value to this channel, right? Can't play the whole screen. You're going to be like, So if you made it this far, good for you. If you skipped this far, good for you. So, let's go over a little bit. Oh, y'all can't see that. So what I want you all to see is that, so right here it says Secretary McMahon. Secretary McMahon testifies on President Trump's fiscal year 2027 budget request, right? And the lady before who first started speaking in the beginning, she was wearing the white on. I got some on her. She was like, hopefully this can end the confusion on student loan borrowing because I could imagine like 1 minute you were saying like I don't have to pay student loans. I don't never have to worry about paying them back. You're going to pay them off. Then next minute, now it's like, oh, now I got to pay them. So if you didn't pay anything for those 4 years in the last administration, now you got to start paying. And it's kind of like, if I believe the government, am I being punished for it? If I didn't believe them, well, it's not if I didn't believe them, but like I'm just rolling this out, spitballing. But honestly, it shouldn't be much confusing. It shouldn't have been confusion for people who really you shouldn't have believed that your student loans are going to be cleared, because the government is all in cahoots sometimes. I don't know what they're going to do exactly, because I don't know if the current Department of Education has a real strict plan, like and subscribe if you made it this far. I don't know if they have a really strict plan on like how they're going to make people pay back their student loans, or if they can even get them to. But I think something is coming at the same time. I'm a little in between there as well. But I don't know if the Trump administration, Department of Education has a real solid plan to make this happen. So hopefully that confusion could be could be fixed. So they said $2 billion in canceled grants. She also mentioned that. I think that was probably the other lady, because a lot of this was like, yeah. So MIS, being attacked. We talked about that. Like minority serving institutions. My bad, didn't say what it meant. Minority serving institutions. So like I say, guys, you probably go to a PBI, a HSI, which is a Hispanic serving institution, PBI, predominantly Black institution, Native American, Pacific Islander institutions, and I believe it's more. You got predominantly white institutions, but that's majority of institutions in the United States. If I can miss one more, but anything that's minority heavy, minority serving institution, and it's really just like what's the majority demographic of that school. So remember that a HBCU, which we're going to talk about in the next segment, their situation. Remember that a HBCU is not the same as an MSI. Why is that important? Because HBCUs, or schools that are specifically catered to, like the HBCU mission is different. The mission is literally to help Black and African Americans. That's HBCU mission. It's not like they were a PWI initially, but then they switched to HBCU. It was like they were founded on, this is the mission, this is the vision of this institution. So MSI is more like the school was a PWI, or it was a church before PWI, and then from history, then it shifted as time went on. It started getting like more Black students, or institutions started getting more Hispanic students, or institutions started getting more Asian students. And so institutions have to cater to that majority, because they don't want to lose the majority of their students, because that can make their institution lose enrollment, decline in enrollment, which equals losing money and losing federal grants, because schools get more federal money, or more money from the state, probably both, but they get definitely more money from the federal government if they meet that quota of having a certain demographic at their institution. So, MSI has been getting attacked. And so Trios and another program they mentioned is being moved to different agencies. I've heard them say like the labor agency or something like that, which is crazy work. But it's been moved to another agency. It just keeps moving. Not much on that, but remember we had a whole live screen talking about Trio. We actually had a person who, like my good brother Justin Carter, was actually part of Trio. He told me, and I didn't even know that. And so you mentioned massive cuts to public education, which is raising costs, but they also said that Linda's budget, or this current fiscal year 2027, not current, but fiscal year 2027 budget request is actually supposed to raise the cost of higher education in the states. Well, obviously in the states, but it's supposed to raise the cost of higher education, which will raise the cost on you as a student. I thought that was very interesting. And I put down students. This is coming. If this budget most likely will get passed, probably. unless they had to change some things, because guys, it's like the information be like bits and pieces. And so if they do change it, that is good, hopefully for the better. But that person, that second person who was talking before Linda started talking, that second person, she was from Wisconsin. She was saying that the budget will increase the cost of higher education. And we can attest to that, because remember when we talked about Michigan and how I think the guy's name was, did I write it down? I don't think I wrote his name down. I did not write his name down. But the Michigan speaker representative, Mark or Michael Hall or something, Michigan representative. But remember that live stream we was talking about? It's the Michigan State Raising Costs live stream. And the guy, or not him, but him speaking about it, I don't know if it was him, like he's probably just a speaker, but on that live screen, they talked about how they're, like poking at Michigan State University, and they're poking at the University of Michigan, and that how like they're going to cut like a large portion of higher ed like funding, which is going to immediately raise the cost for students. I'm sorry, going to raise the cost for students. It's going to raise the fees, and it's going to raise the housing. And I was like, literally, I was like, shoot, like raising the housing. Like, it's just gonna raise everything at the college for you when they cut the funding, because where else does the school gonna get the money? It's not like they're asking for money from alumni. It's like, hey, can you cover this to help students? Because it's real discreet on how higher education really runs their school. So that is accurate. Because apparently it seems like everything has been, attacking higher education. Well, not everything, but at least from our view, the Trump administration has been seeming that way. I think they've been holding universities accountable in some instances, but at the same time, if they do take the funding away from universities are kind of like, well, we're not prepared for this, so we just have to raise the costs, and we can just blame it on the Trump administration. That's the view I see, because these schools get so much money to fund sports, and they get so much donor money. They can easily, literally, get the donor money and say it's for a good reason to help these kids not get their tuition raised or get their per credit hour raised due to current changes in administration, due to like what's going on. We're fighting against the federal government, literally. So I think schools are just like, they wasn't prepared for a rainy or storm like this. We covered stories on that. I think universities were not prepared for this. And so now they have to figure out what they're going to do to combat this. Because if universities don't figure out how to combat this, they're going to have to face losing students going to 2 years. Like, that's the biggest thing we've been talking about, why you should start at a 2-year bridge to a 4-year. Students going to 2 years, students probably not going to school, students going strictly to a 2-year to do this or do that. And they say, I'm not transferring to a university. So you're looking at, once again, public distrust, often what we talk about. And when you have public distrust, that can have an effect on the economy, like our workforce, our economic workforce. I know we say we want to work for ourselves and this and that, but we still need a workforce. We still need, police, detectives, firefighters, fire chiefs, sheriffs, cooks, chefs, people doing the little things, people who take people here, take people there. We need those things, but right now it's going to be really hard to get these things. Lawyers, physical therapists, doctors, PhD students, like we need these people like to keep doing research, keep going. If you are wrongfully convicted, have somebody who really want to fight for you in a court case. If you get injured, you need to get yourself better. You need somebody to get you back right through PT, physical therapy. So a lot of this is part of education. A lot of this is part of why you should go to college. A lot of this is why you should start a 2-year and bridge to a 4-year. And when you get to your 4-year, stay off campus and do not get a meal plan. That saves you like $10,000 or more. That saves you $10,000 and more. And that's just something we really have to keep in mind. And what else did she say? I might find some of this in here. And they said that the tax credit is supposed to help families in public schools get tutors. I wrote that down. I'm not sure that was, if I had that information right when Linda was talking. Not sure, because they could say one thing, but another thing is being carried out. So right here is before we leave this segment, this is I promise you I thought I seen say this is her remarks as prepared for delivery. This is her speech, Linda McMahon's speech, I believe. It says Chair Capito, I believe. Ranking Member Baldwin, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for having me today. And it's literally, I believe that's literally what she was reading when we were just watching it. And she said right here, we are also hard at work implementing the historic provisions of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, which simplifies federal student loan repayment. Federal student loan repayment launches a brand new workforce Pell program and puts downward pressure on tuition to make education more affordable for students nationwide, because they said the workforce Pell is going to be for students, not just trades, according to our financial aid specialist, Sam. It's going to be for all programs that's considered, I guess, high demand for the workforce, because, financial aid is trying to figure out the best ways to implement it, even though it's kind of like up in the air how it's going to be implemented. So let me see if they put it in here with tutors. So right here, yeah, this is what she said about, thanks to President Trump and Republicans in Congress, the Education Freedom Tax Credit, which we covered a little bit about, gives parents access to critical resources like scholarships, tutoring, and specialized services for students with disabilities, whether the child attends public or private school. And now I don't know how accurate that is, because I don't have a kid who is in public or private school, and I really don't know how fast it has been even implemented, and how they can get their hands on this information, my nieces, my nephews. So I don't know about that, but that's what they're saying. And so I did want to cover that, because that's pretty much the speech she was going through when she was talking. So the next thing is to talk about real quick as we shift our conversation is North Carolina A&T apparently had a scandal. I don't know how. So they said it came from the state. Did it come from the state or federal? If it came from federal government, it could be the federal government messing now with the HBCU. If it comes from the state, then this is an in-house thing. And so when this is an in-house thing, that's kind of more like we should worry. We should pay attention. So let me close that. We don't need that. Let me see. All right. So according to the Chronicles of Higher Education, shout out to them for the great information that they always provide. According to the Chronicles of Higher Education, North Carolina, it's funny, we just talked about North Carolina A&T because J.R. Smith is about set to get his degree next month on May 9th, his bachelor's degree, NBA player, right? And he went to North Carolina A&T, or goes to North Carolina A&T. And we're about to cover the news. Hopefully it's a video. But Chronicle Higher Education said that North Carolina A&T misused financial aid. A report from the state auditor's office found that the university awarded $5 million from its administrative recovery funds as financial aid without evidence of merit or need-based criteria. Recipients included university employees and their family members got this money. So we're going to talk a little bit and dive into this. This is HBCU. Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe. This is information topics we should talk about. And remember, we're independent. And so sometimes independent comes with good, comes with bad, but you have to stand on what you believe in. You've been independent. And so it says right here, state auditor. So like I said, it's this is not good because this is from an in-house person, this state auditor. This is not from the federal government. This is not being attacked by Trump. This is by the state. Or this could have been from this federal government, sent from the federal government and this person is represented by the state. Like, depending on who the state is, you know, it could be a Republican state. I'm not sure if North Carolina. I'm not sure if North Carolina is a. I'm not sure if North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm not sure they're Republican, Democrat. I'm not sure, but let's see. So, state auditor North Carolina A&T gave millions to students because of connections, not merit. According to the state auditor David Boyle's report, North Carolina A&T directed $5 million to students as financial aid without evidence of merit or need-based criteria. And that's the school. So the North Carolina State Auditor's Office found that millions of dollars in financial aid went to out-of-state North Carolina A&T students who did not meet certain criteria for it and were tied to former university officials. According to State Auditor David Bullock's report, North Carolina A&T directed $5 million to students as financial aid without evidence of merit or need-based criteria. Officials at North Carolina A&T contacted the State Auditor's Office. Wow. Officials at North Carolina A&T contacted the State Auditor's Office after discovering misuse of student financial aid was taking place and asked the auditor to look into the matter. Someone in quotation said, "I personally contacted State Auditor Bullock because of transparency demands. Nonetheless," said Chancellor James R. Martin II, Jr., "and our students deserve to know that every dollar they pay is managed with integrity and the corrective actions we have taken reflect that commitment." Bullock's report found that of the $5 million that was improperly distributed, more than $780,000 in administrative recovery funds. Wow. More than $780,000 in administrative recovery funds, which are fees charged to students for services like housing, dining, parking, were directed to students who are university employees, family members of employees, or otherwise had direct personal or professional connection to the university. Students got an advantage because of who they knew and who they were connected to, Bullock said. Money that otherwise could have benefited a different program or student who qualified instead went to those who had the right connection. This is what we talk about, guys, what we talk about all the time. So it says the report indicated that 24 students who received more than $238,000 combined were either university employees or family members of employees. Some of the examples in the report included the former executive director of the Real Estate Foundation's nephew received $73,000 in financial awards. Take a sip on that. I think y'all know what I'm thinking right now. In North Carolina A&T Center for Teaching Excellence, external advisory board member's daughter received $23,000. The son of former part-time English instructor received $22,545. The son of the former associate vice chancellor for campus enterprise received $18,707. The former assistant vice chancellor for business and finance's daughter was awarded $15,000 in funds, pretty much. The report also said there was an instance where the university former vice chancellor for business and finance used preferential treatment to award an out-of-state student for $49,000. The former vice chancellor then authorized a total of $48,000 or $49,000 to two friends of that same out-of-state student. Bullock said that he made criminal referrals related to the audit to the State Bureau of Investigation. Okay. What's been uncovered at North Carolina A&T represents gross misconduct. Given the findings of our investigation, we have made a criminal referral to the State Bureau of Investigation, and I fully informed and updated Guilford County District Attorney, Bullock said. So, saying that the report also alleges that after a conversation between former Vice Provost of Enrollment Management and the former Director of Financial Operations, The former vice provost's son was able to stay at the university despite university policy that would have prevented him from staying. The student also received $10,000 scholarship award, which far exceeded the $2,000 budgeted amount for that scholarship. Wow, misuse of funds. The university underwent an audit in 2008 that also found that it had improperly awarded scholarship money to relatives of university employees. In interviews with the university officials at that time, auditors discovered that members of the Treasury and Financial Aid departments could request that a scholarship be awarded with no questions asked. Bullett's report on Thursday outlined 15 recommendations to improve the financial aid approval process and includes a response from North Carolina A&T outlining steps the university is taking to improve operations. So now, why we read all that? We read all that because, for one, that's in your area if you are receiving financial aid, and it shows you too that, or just because it happened at North Carolina A&T, what is stopping this from happening at other schools? And it lets you know that every other school can have its own process and how they distribute financial aid money. Like they said, excuse me, the financial aid money is probably, that money could have went to a student who actually deserved it. Now, you hear me say all the time on this live screen that don't take it personal if you don't get into a school. Don't take it personal if something happens, like, excuse me, don't take it personal if something like this happens at a school, because you was probably supposed to get some money if you go to this school or any other school in this situation. You probably supposed to get some of this money in some form or fashion, right? And you didn't even get the money because they gave it to university employees. They gave it to some people they knew. They literally was just giving out financial aid money. And when you give out financial aid money like that, I'm assuming it's going to these people in checks, like checks, which is highly illegal, right? Misuse of funds. And this is a big reason why it's like, you might be like, well, I don't have enough money to go to school. This is another reason why you have to be independent. Use your scholarships, use your grant money, use your financial aid, but remember that we're taking our associate's degree and getting a full-time job with it or part-time job with it, because what that's going to do, that's going to allow us to pay for our bachelor's degree and pay, hopefully, for our graduate level degree that we get or go for, because that helps chop down the burden of student loans when you use your own money and you save and you budget. Because remember, to do this, you got to be some form of good with your money. That's just part of the game. And North Carolina A&T, unfortunately, this is like really bad, but it's like, you know, most people probably will never hear about this story, or people will look past it because they might say it doesn't affect me. And you might not even know it affects you because you might not be aware that you was eligible for more money. Literally, they said merit based. Like, what it said, merit based. You're supposed to get more money in school if you like meet the merit requirements, MERIT. And let me see. Yeah, like it's supposed to be evidence of merit or need based. If you need extra money, you get extra money. Like, depending on how the school has that set up with funds and good nature, like that, you know, like Pell, a fund for, like, it might be some scholarship or funding money for students who parents make 50,000 below, like family income. That's a whole nother fund that North Carolina A&T gets money from for donors, so they can give it to someone like out there who needs it. And so, but $5 million though to students as financial aid without evidence is wild. It's crazy. It's wild. It's another reason why you need to save your money. And it's another reason why I'm not gonna say it's just this school. It could be happening at, let me come in, so okay, like it was blurring out. This could be happening at a lot of schools. I'm trying to figure out what side this is on. This could be happening at a lot of schools. It's not just this school. It could be happening at a lot of schools. And so we have to keep, like and subscribe. We have to keep that in mind when we look at this. Is it a video to this? Hold on. I don't think it's a video to this, but if it was, I was gonna be like, oh wow, we got a video to this. And he had a report. Let me see. Oh, wow. This is an actual official report. State auditor. Investigative special report. Ooh. Some serious business right here. You see it, right? No need to read what we found. And you seen that it said certain people with titles, like a person who worked in the a person who worked in the use of ARFs for student financial assistance by the University Division of Business and Finance, inconsistent with fund purpose. Like people who are in these roles, like I tell you, people in these vice president roles, people who are in these executive roles, people who are internally have so much more power, especially if their kid go to the school, right? And then just keep in mind, they could do that. Imagine what they could do about who gets into the school and who does not get into the school. And so why am I telling you this? Because it builds the organic of this channel, like and subscribe. But it also reminds you not to get worked up over little things of why you didn't get into the school, why you probably didn't win this scholarship or win this contest within the school, because it's all, I guess I would say, part of the game. And I just want you to understand, like, just focus on you, build your connections. You know, as I'm gonna say, start a 2-year bridge to a 4-year. Take your associate's degree, make your money, stay off campus, don't get a meal plan, and just, you know, as I should have said this in the beginning, you know, get your core right, get your budget right, and just keep going and be consistent while you're in college. Like, have a little fun, but you can't party too much. Party when you get your job, you get your own apartment, you get your own spot. You can do whatever you want, but college is like boot camp. College is relentless. College is like, okay, I'm working hard. We can have a good time on the weekend. We can have a good time during the week a little bit. But you got to be locked in, man. You got to be going at this, because stuff like this can affect you on a state level. This is not federal, on a state level. Really, this is a state thing. This is an institution thing. This can affect you so bad and delay you so bad and like hurt you in some ways. Like, what if this leads to the school losing financial aid or credibility? Because they said this happened back in 2008. What if that led to this? This can lead to that. Like, this happened back in 2008 as well. So what if I don't know, after their investigation report, they say, yeah, we're gonna take away North Carolina A&T's financial aid. So now you go to this school, you don't even know, oh, we can't have financial aid. Why you don't have financial aid, North Carolina A&T? Because we had a situation where we misused $5 million on one internally. So we've been suspended for financial aid for like 2 years. You're like, I already came here. What school am I gonna go to? So just keep these things in mind, man. Just these are things you really have to pay attention to. Education is so important, and this can set you back. Or you can always go to a 2-year college in North Carolina. So that was a story, not major. It's major, but not like yeah, jaw dropping though, because if you're in that area, that could hurt you. Like and subscribe, man. Like and subscribe. We have 53. Dang, time flies on here. I feel like we just started. Do I want to talk about this? Yeah. So I was thinking about it. I had to think about it. But apparently right now, guys, in the UK, there is apparently a job market problem, just like in America. The UK is apparently, this was written, they say this article is more than 5 months old. This is the Guardian. Guardian is pretty good. They're independent. That's not I said independent. I believe they're independent. I could be wrong, but it's saying that I'm gonna go through this a little bit. This was written by Jessica Murray, social affairs correspondent. This was written, oh man, this was written a year ago. So, well, hold on. That's not the most recent thing. I'm gonna go to Google though for this, because the real article was how can I put it? The real article needs a subscription. So apparently, in a little concise way, the UK has a job market problem going on. Apparently, as you can see right here, topper of my class, still no job. Graduate spent over RS1, I think that's the currency, on UK degree. Applied to 500 jobs, got nothing. UK graduates turn to emergency degrees to ride out job crisis. UK student spends over RS1 core on degree. I think that's the same one. And college graduate who pays 6-figure fortune for his degree can't find a job. I'm not sure if that's American or UK, but there's an article actually. We can't read it or go through it, but there's an article about a UK graduate. Cool. About a UK graduate. Damn, we can't even scroll down. About a UK graduate saying the same thing, that they can't get jobs. There's like a job market crisis going on. And I really wanted to cover that story in depth, but apparently I can't. And so hopefully y'all can listen to another YouTube channel that probably 9 months ago. But it's not just us. I thought, like, it opened my eyes that America is just not the only one right now. I wonder what other countries are going through job market crisis, and what that's cooking up right now. Like economic, hopefully not a recession. I know they said 2 negative GDPs, but just a little financial stuff. But the UK is going through it right now. The value of a degree, because I feel like right now it's like a rapid thing with technology going on, as we talk about with AI and jobs changing and what's really valuable. We're trying to determine what's going to be valuable, AI, software, hardware. Like I say, I feel like this is really the best time to get a liberal arts degree, something where you can public speak. A lot of kids don't like taking public speaking classes no more, like students. I think you should take public speaking courses. I think you should be trying to get a job where you're talking to a human, or a human needs to talk to you. Like I said, I work in a college, or you should want to get a job working in working for a government. Like get these jobs. These are like safety net jobs I'm naming, like working for the government, like getting a job at the courthouse. They're very old fashioned, very behind. But as you get what I'm saying, like these jobs require working with people, because people still have to go in these buildings. A lot of things with government work can't be done online. It has to be done in person. So, and many more jobs that I'm probably not naming that requires human interaction. And so, you guys, it's just we're going through a shift in pivotal time. And I just really believe strongly. And if you want to get a great buck, get a great return on your investment for getting a liberal arts, or again, a human interpersonal degree, definitely another reason why you should start at a 2-year and bridge to a 4-year. Like that's what I'm big on. That's what I'm saying. This is like the best way to do it. Of course, with a liberal arts degree, you don't make much out the gate. But you're going to make more over time. Some people make a lot out the gate, especially if they become instructors in the college. They get their master's, they can instruct at a 2-year, some can instruct at a 4-year. And then you can just become an instructor, because instructors make great money in colleges. And so play the game right, guys. We're going through a transition. I'm here. But remember, 2-year to 4-year, don't get a meal plan, stay off campus, and you rinse and repeat when you get to your 4-year. So that's going to be all for today, though. Very short live stream. Wasn't much out there, really. I think few people being lazy with the articles. We covered a few things, nothing major, but you know, just one of those live streams. But it was a good one though. I feel like very, as I always say, our worst live stream is somebody's bet. No, how they go? Your worst live stream, my worst live stream is your best live stream. That's how I feel. Did I say that right? If I didn't say that right, let me know if you made it this far. Like and subscribe, share us, and we'll be back Thursday. And do your schoolwork. Peace, love, chicken grease.